My name is Frank Cooper. I'm 82 years old, and if the doctors are right about the fluid in my lungs, I'm looking at the final few chapters of a very long and in many ways very misguided book. I'm sitting here in this chair, the one Martha bought me for my 65th birthday, and I'm looking at the dust motes dancing in the light coming through the window. It's funny how when you're young you never notice the dust. You're too busy trying to build something, trying to be someone, trying to win a game that, as it turns out, has no winners. I'm speaking to you today because I have a heavy secret. It's a weight I've carried since a rainy Tuesday 3 years ago. I held my wife's hand as she took her very last breath in a room that smelled of antiseptic and faded lavender. I held that hand, rough from years of gardening and soft from the lotion she loved, and I realized I had spent 54 years with this woman without ever saying the one thing that actually mattered. I missed my chance. And I can see you out there right now doing the exact same thing. You're running, you're striving, you're hustling, and you're about to make the same mistake I did. So please, just for a moment, stop. Sit with an old man who has nothing left to gain and nowhere left to hide. I spent most of my life believing in a very specific, very dangerous lie. It was the 1970s and 80s, and I was a mid-level manager for an insurance firm. I thought my job was to be the provider, the rock, the stoic pillar of the Cooper household. I believed that love was measured in the square footage of our home in the suburbs and the reliability of the station wagon in the driveway. I remember 1984 specifically. I was working 60, sometimes 70 hours a week. I'd come home and the house would be quiet. The kids would be in bed. Martha would have a plate of food warming in the oven, usually something like meatloaf or chicken that had gone a bit dry from waiting. I'd eat it in silence, staring at the newspaper, thinking about the quarterly projections. I thought I was doing it for them. That's the lie we tell ourselves, isn't it? I'm doing this for my family. But if I'm being honest with myself now, in the cold light of age, I was doing it for my ego. I wanted the promotion because I wanted the title. I wanted the bigger office because I wanted the respect of men I don't even remember the names of today. I remember the smell of that office, stale coffee, cigarette smoke, and the ozone from the photocopiers. I spent more time breathing that air than I did breathing the air in my own backyard while my children were growing up. Martha would try to reach me. She'd ask about my day, or she'd tell me about a book she was reading or how the peonies were finally blooming. I'd give her a "that's nice, dear," without ever looking up from my briefcase. I was disciplined, I was focused, I was stoic. I thought showing emotion or being truly present was a sign of weakness. I thought that as long as the mortgage was paid and there was money in the savings account, I was a good man. I remember one summer, it must have been '89, Martha wanted to take a week and just drive up the coast. No plans, just us. I told her we couldn't afford the time away from the office. I had a big account closing. I told her maybe next year. We never went. That next year turned into a decade of not right nows. I won awards. I got the gold watch. I had a retirement party where people gave speeches about my dedication. And do you know what I have left of those 40 years of dedication? A box of plaques in the garage that the mice are currently nesting in. Not one of those clients called me when Martha got sick. Not one of those vice presidents came to her funeral. I traded the presence of my life for the promise of a future that turned out to be a ghost. The turning point didn't come with a bang. It came with a whisper in a hospital corridor. It was 3 years ago. Martha had been complaining of a backache for months, and I, in my infinite stoicism, told her she was probably just overdoing it in the garden. I told her to take some aspirin and keep moving. When we finally went to the doctor, it was already everywhere. Stage 4. The descent was fast. It was like a curtain falling before the play was even over. I remember the smell of that hospital room, that sharp metallic scent of cleaning fluid and despair. I spent 6 weeks sitting in a hard plastic chair next to her bed. And for the first time in 50 years, I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't thinking about the car or the lawn or my legacy. I was looking at her, really looking at her. I saw the wrinkles around her eyes that I hadn't noticed forming. I saw the way her hands trembled when she tried to reach for a glass of water. One night, it was just the two of us. The monitors were beeping, that steady, rhythmic reminder that time is a finite resource. She looked at me, her eyes clouded with morphine and pain, and she asked me, "Frank, did we have a good life? Did you actually enjoy it with me?" And I froze. I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to tell her that she was the only thing that ever mattered. I wanted to tell her I was sorry for every time I chose a spreadsheet over her smile. I wanted to tell her that the house and the cars and the success felt like ashes in my mouth, but I couldn't. My throat closed up. That old habit of keeping it together held me back. I just squeezed her hand and said, "Of course we did, Martha. Now get some rest." She died 4 hours later. I held her hand as she left this world, and that sentence, the "I'm sorry I wasn't really there," stayed locked inside me. I had 50 years to be a husband, and I spent 45 of them being an employee. That is a debt you can never ever repay. I see you now. I see you looking at your phone while your child is trying to show you a drawing. I see you staying late at the office to impress a boss who would replace you in a heartbeat if you dropped dead tomorrow. I see you waiting for the right time to be happy. Let me tell you something from the edge of the grave. There is no right time. There is only right now. You think you're being strong by burying your feelings, by being the provider who doesn't complain. But that's not strength. That's cowardice. It's easier to work 80 hours a week than it is to sit across from the person you love and be truly, deeply vulnerable. It's easier to buy a gift than it is to give your attention. We've been sold a bill of goods. We've been told that life is a ladder and we spend our best years climbing it only to find out it's leaning against the wrong wall. If you want some wisdom from an old man who failed the most important test of his life, here it is. First, stop eating that poison you call food. I spent years grabbing fast food and processed junk because I was too busy to sit down for a real meal. Now my body is a cage of inflammation and regret. Eat things that grew from the earth, cook with your hands. Sit at a table with people you love and turn the damn television off. Second, move your body while it still works. I thought health was something I'd worry about after I retired, but by the time I retired, my knees were shot and my heart was weak. Don't exercise to look good. Exercise so you can still pick up your grandkids when you're 70. Third, and this is the most important, kill your ego. That grudge you're holding against your brother. Let it go. That pride that stops you from admitting you're lonely. Burn it. I spent years not talking to my younger brother over some stupid argument about our father's will. He died 5 years ago, and I never got to tell him I loved him. For what? A few $1,000s? A sense of being right. Being right is the loneliest victory you will ever achieve. Success isn't what they tell you it is. It's not the car, the zip code, or the number of followers you have on some digital screen. Success is having people who want to hold your hand when you're dying. Success is looking back at your day and knowing you were actually there for it, not just dreaming of a tomorrow that might never come. I see you young people stressed about making it. You've already made it. You're alive. You have air in your lungs and people who probably want to love you if you just let them. Don't wait for the diagnosis. Don't wait for the funeral. Don't wait until you're sitting in a chair like this, looking at the dust, wondering where the decades went. I'm tired now. Talking takes more out of me than it used to, but I needed to get this out. I needed to share the life I never shared while Martha was still here. If you're listening to this, please do one thing for me. Not for the algorithm, not for a like, but for your own soul. Put down the phone. Walk into the other room. Look at the person who lives there with you. Really look at them. and tell them the thing you've been too stoic to say. Tell them they are enough. Tell them you're sorry for being distracted. Tell them you love them until it feels uncomfortable, and then say it again. This channel is called The Life I Never Shared because for 80 years I kept the best parts of myself locked away in the name of duty. I don't want you to do that. Don't let your life be a series of missed connections and maybe next year's. If you want to hear more of these hard truths, if you want to learn from my failures so you don't have to repeat them, then stay with me. Subscribe to this channel not for my sake, but as a reminder to yourself to stay awake, to stay present, and please share your own story in the comments below. What is the one thing you're afraid to say? What are you working too hard for? Let's talk about it. Let's be real for once. Because believe me, the clock is ticking much faster than you think. Memento mori. Remember that you will die, but until then, for God's sake, live. Frank Cooper.